in the city of Aral. Local Kazakh fishermen harvesting the day's catch. Local Kazakh fishermen harvesting the day's catch. Vulnerable populations. Women and children are the most vulnerable populations in this environmental health crisis due to the highly polluted and salinated water used for drinking and the dried seabed. 55. Toxic chemicals associated with pesticide use have been found in blood and breast milk of mothers, specifically organochlorides, polychlorinated biphenyl compounds, PCBs, DDT compounds, and TCDD. 42. 43. These toxins can be and often are passed on to the children of these mothers, resulting in low birth weight and congenital abnormalities. The rate of infants being born with abnormalities is 5 times higher in this region than in European countries. 55. The Aral Sea region has 26% of its children born at low birth weight, which is 2 standard deviations away from a national population study gathered by the WHO. 56. Exposures to toxic chemicals from the dry seabed and polluted water have caused other health issues in women and children. Renal tubular dysfunction has become a large health concern in children in the Aral Sea region as it is showing extremely high prevalence rates. Renal tubular dysfunction can also be related to growth and developmental stunting. 57. This, in conjunction with the already high rate of low birth weight children and children born with abnormalities, contributes to severe negative health effects and outcomes for children. These issues are compounded by the lack of research on maternal and child health effects caused by the demise of the Aral Sea. For example, only 26 English-language peer-reviewed articles and 4 reports on children's health were produced between 1994 and 2008. 56. In addition, there is a lack of health infrastructure and resources in the Aral Sea region to combat the health issues that have arisen. 58. There is a lack of medication and equipment in many medical facilities, so health professionals do not have access to the necessary supplies to do their jobs in the Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan regions. 58. There is also meager development of a health information system that would allow for extensive research or surveillance of emerging health issues due to Aral Sea issues. 58. An absence of a primary care approach in the health systems of this region also hinders services and access that could prevent and treat issues stemming from the Aral Sea crisis, especially in women and children. 58. The impoverished are also particularly vulnerable to the environmental and health-related effects of changes to the Aral Sea. These populations were most likely to reside downstream from the basin and in former coastal communities. 59. They were also among the first to be detrimentally affected, representing at least 4.4 million people in the region. 59. Considered to have the worst health in this region, their plight was not helped when their fishery livelihoods vanished with the decreasing levels of water and loss of many aquatic species. 59. Thus, those in poverty are entrenched in a vicious cycle. Solutions. Proposed environmental solutions. Many different solutions to the problems have been suggested over the years, varying in feasibility and cost, including improving the quality of irrigation canals, using alternative cotton species that require less water. 60. Promoting non-agricultural economic development in upstream countries. 61. Using fewer chemicals on the cotton. Cultivating crops other than cotton. Redirecting water from the Volga, Ob and Irtysh rivers to restore the Aral Sea to its former size in 20-30 years at a cost of $30-50 billion. 62. Pumping seawater into the Aral Sea from the Caspian Sea via a pipeline, and diluting it with fresh water from local catchment areas. 63. Cotton picking in Uzbekistan. Cotton is one of the most water-intensive plants. 30. In January 1994, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan signed a deal to pledge 1% of their budgets to help the sea recover. In March 2000, UNESCO presented their water-related vision for the Aral Sea Basin for the year 2025. 64. By 2006, the World Bank's restoration projects, especially in the North Aral, were giving rise to some unexpected, tentative relief in what had been an extremely pessimistic picture. 65. Restoration strategies. Technology. Funded in part by the UNDP, implementations in Kazakhstan such as laser leveling and irrigation optimization using energy-efficient technologies has shown effectiveness. 66. Aral Sea Basin Program. 1. The future of the Aral Sea and the responsibility for its survival are now in the hands of the 5 countries Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Turkmenistan. In 1994, they adopted the Aral Sea Basin Program. 67. The program's 4 objectives are to stabilize the environment of the Aral Sea Basin, to rehabilitate the disaster area around the sea, to improve the management of the international waters of the Aral Sea Basin, to build the capacity of institutions at the regional and national level to advance the program's aims. ASBP, Phase 1. The first phase of the plan effectively began with the first involvement from the World Bank in 1992, and was in operation until 1997. It was ineffectual for a number of reasons, but mainly because it was focused on improving directly the land around the Aral Sea, whilst not intervening in the water usage upstream. There was considerable concern amongst the Central Asian governments, which realized the importance of Aral Sea in the ecosystem and the economy of Central Asia, and they were prepared to cooperate. But Hay found it difficult to implement the procedures of the plan. This is due in part to a lack of cooperation among the affected people. The water flowing into the Aral Sea has long been considered an important commodity, and trade agreements have been made to supply the downstream communities with water in the spring and summer months for irrigation. In return, they supply the upstream countries with fuel during the winter, instead of storing water during the warm months for hydroelectric purposes in winter. However, very few legal obligations are binding these contracts, particularly on an international stage. ASBP, Phase 2. Phase 2 of the Aral Sea Basin Program followed in 1998 and ran for 5 years. The main shortcomings of Phase 2 were due to its lack of integration with the local communities involved. PESCHEM was drawn up by the World Bank, government representatives, and various technical experts without consulting those who would be affected. An example of this was the public awareness initiatives, which were seen as propagandist attempts by people with little care or understanding of their situation. These failures have led to the introduction of a new plan, funded by a number of institutions, including 5 countries involved and the World Bank. ASBP, Phase 3. In 1997, a new plan was conceived which would continue with the previous restoration efforts of the Aral Sea. The main aims of this phase are to improve the irrigation systems currently in place, whilst targeting water management at a local level. The largest project in this phase is the North Aral Sea Project, a direct effort to recover the northern region of the Aral Sea. The North Aral Sea Project's main initiative is the construction of a dam across the Berg Strait, a deep channel which connects the North Aral Sea to the South Aral Sea. The Aral Dam is 13 kilometers, 8 miles, long and has capacity for over 29 cubic kilometers of water to be stored in the North Aral Sea, whilst allowing excess to overflow into the South Aral Sea. Aral Sea Basin Program 2. On the 6th of October, 2002, the heads of states met again to revise the ASBP program. ASBP 2 was in place from 2003 to 2010. The main purpose of the ASBP2 was to set up projects that covered a vast amount of environmental, socio-economic and water management issues. The ASBP2 was financed by organizations such as the UNDP, World Bank, USAID, Asian Development Bank, and the governments of Switzerland, Japan, Finland, Norway and others. Over $2 billion was provided by the AFUS country members to the Program. 68, Aral Sea Basin Program 3. On the 28th of April, 2009, the head of states came together with the Interstate Commission for Water Coordination, Interstate Commission for Sustainable Development and national experts and donors to develop the ASBP3. This program was in effect from 2011 to 2015. The main purpose of the ASBP3 was to improve the environmental and socio-economic situation of the Aral Sea Basin. The four program prioritized were SAD 68, Direction 1, Integrated Use of Water Resources. Direction 2, Environmental Protection. Direction 3, Socio-economic Development. Direction 4, Improving the institutional and legal instruments. ASBP 3, Direction 1. Direction 1's main purpose is to propose program that focus on addressing transboundary water resources management, establishment of monitoring systems and addressing safety concerns in water facilities. Examples of programs that have been proposed include SAD 68, developing proposals to optimize the management and use of water resources in Central Asia, taking into account environmental factors, effects of climate change to meet the national interests of the Aral Sea Basin. Improving the quality of hydrometeorological services for weather-dependent sectors of the economy of Central Asia. Creating a database and computer models for the management of transboundary water resources. Assisting the countries in reducing the risk of natural disasters, including through the strengthening of regional cooperation, improved disaster preparedness and response. ASBP 3, Direction 2. Directions 2's main focus is on addressing the issues related to environmental protection and improvement of the environment. Areas of interest include SAD 68, the environment in the deltas of the Syr Darya and Amu Darya improved. Mountain environments improved. The environment and productivity of pastures improved. A regional information system on the environment established. ASBP 3, Direction 3. Direction 3 looks to address socio-economic issues by focusing on education and public health, improving unemployment rates, improving water systems, increasing sustainable development and improving living conditions. The expected outputs are SAD 68, and improved access to safe drinking water. For the rural population, establishment and forward/or development of private small enterprises, creation of new jobs, and increased labor efficiency. An improvement in the quality of medical services. An improvement in the effectiveness and quality of education in schools and preschool facilities in rural areas. ASBP 3, Direction 4. Direction 4 aims to address issues related to institutional development and the development of policies and strategies that relate to sustainable development and public awareness. Expected outputs include SAD 68, conditions for a transparent and mutually beneficial regional dialogue and cooperation, including setting up a sectorial dialogue between governments established. A prototype of the single information and analysis system for the water sector established. A communication strategy for stakeholders and the public established. Training systems for the water sector and the hydrometeorological services in Central Asia improved. North Aral Sea restoration work. Work is being done to restore in part the North Aral Sea. Irrigation works on the Syr Darya have been repaired and improved to increase its water flow, and in October 2003, the Kazakh government announced a plan to build Dike Aral, a concrete dam separating the two halves of the Aral Sea. Work on this dam was completed in August 2005. Since then, the water level of the North Aral has risen, and its salinity has decreased. As of 2006, some recovery of sea level has been recorded, sooner than expected. 40. The dam has caused the small Aral sea level to rise swiftly to 38 m, 125 feet, from a low of less than 30 m, 98 feet, with 42 m, 138 feet, considered the level of viability. 69. Economically significant stocks of fish have returned, and observers who had written off the North Aral Sea as an environmental disaster were surprised by unexpected reports that, in 2006, its returning waters were already partly reviving the fishing industry and producing catches for export as far as Ukraine. The improvements to the fishing industry were largely due to the drop in the average salinity of the sea from 30 grams to 8 grams per liter. This drop in salinity prompted the return of almost 24 freshwater species. 50. Their restoration also reportedly gave rise to long-absent rain clouds and possible microclimate changes, bringing tentative hope to an agricultural sector swallowed by a regional dust bowl, and some expansion of the shrunken sea. 70. Comparison of the North Aral Sea before, below, and after, above. The construction of Dike Aral completed in 2005. Comparison of the North Aral Sea in 2000 and 2011. The sea, which had receded almost 100 kilometers, 62 mi, south of the port city of Aralsk, is now a mere 25 kilometers, 16 mi, away. The Kazakh Foreign Ministry stated that the North Aral Sea's surface sea increased from 2,550 square kilometers, 980 square mi, in 2003 to 3,300 square kilometers, 1,300 square mi, in 2008. The sea's depth increased from 30 meters, 98 feet, in 2003 to 42 meters, 138 feet, in 2008. 2. Now, a second dam is to be built based on a World Bank loan to Kazakhstan, with the start of construction initially slated for 2009 and postponed to 2011, to further expand the shrunken Northern Aral. 71. Eventually reducing the distance to Aralsk to only 6 kilometers, 3.7 mi. Then, it was planned to build a canal spanning the last 6 kilometers, to reconnect the withered former port of Aralsk to the sea. 72. On the 15th of June, 2021, the Central Communications Service of Kazakhstan announced that they plan to plant saxaul trees on 1 million hectares of the drained bottom of the Aral Sea as part of efforts to stop dust storms on the region. Other efforts include expanding the sea's water mirror. 73. Future of South Aral Sea. The South Aral Sea, half of which lies in Uzbekistan, ways abandoned to its fate. Most of Uzbekistan's part of the Aral Sea is completely shriveled up. Only excess water from the North Aral Sea is periodically allowed to flow into the largely dried up South Aral Sea through a sluice in the dike. 74. Discussions had been held on recreating a channel between the somewhat improved north and the desiccated south, along with uncertain wetland restoration plans throughout the region. But political will is lacking. 40. Unlike Kazakhstan, which has partially revived its part half the Aral Sea, Uzbekistan shows no signs of abandoning the Amu Darya River to irrigate their cotton, and is moving toward oil exploration in the drying South Aral Sea. 72. Attempts to mitigate the effects of desertification include planting vegetation in the newly exposed seabed. However, intermittent flooding of the eastern basin is likely to prove problematic for any development. Redirecting what little flow there is from the Amu Darya to the western basin may salvage fisheries there while relieving the flooding of the eastern basin. 75. Institutional bodies.